Okay, with that, I'll call this meeting to order. And would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance here? Oops. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the
flag
Flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Boy, how about that for technological work there? Thank you, everyone, for that. I'm glad that we're still able to at least do that part of it. Kathy, would you please do roll call?
Sure. Mayor McGowan,
Here.
Matthew Lund,
Present.
John Glondo,
Here.
Preston Weaver,
Hi, Kathy. I am here.
Stephen Harper,
Present.
Mickey Holtz. I guess we're waiting for Mickey. Beth Williams,
here.
Ken Ratliff.
I'm here.
Okay. So we'll just note that Mickey might be a little tardy, but he's on his way.
Yeah, I would just move at this point that we
Yes.
excuse the presumed tardiness of Mr. Holtz. And seek a
Okay.
second.
Second that.
All right, moved to second and moved by Stephen Harper, seconded by Beth Williams to excuse Mickey Holtz's tardiness, if not absence. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed, that he's excused. So approval of the meeting agenda?
Move that we approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Stephen Harper and seconded by John Galando to approve the meeting agenda. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the meeting agenda is accepted. There are no announcements, appointments, awards, or recognition. So the consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Moved by John Galando and seconded by Beth Williams to approve the consent agenda. Questions on the motion? Ken?
A quick question.
Yeah, two questions. It's like Ken first. Ken first. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to point out that Kathy sent out a slightly amended minutes this afternoon. So that's all. And we would be voting on that version.
Yes, that's been corrected. Okay, Matthew, you have a question?
I was curious about the vouchers. We don't normally get detail on them, and I'm just curious if that's something we could start getting. I don't need like very detailed details, but even if we just can get a like overview list, I'd just be curious since we're voting to approve them.
Yes,
I think that's
we can do that.
pretty
Or a
easy.
quick committee report or something.
Yeah, we can bring those out and show them and go over them in any kind of detail. Kathy could get it right now if, well, we got a standing motion, we got to vote on it. But.
Yeah, I don't have anything specific for this particular one. I'm just curious if that can be attached in the future. Just, I know you guys do great work on the finance committee, but I'm curious just what goes in and out, and the public probably is too.
There is sort of a list that you can we can provide you with that kind of tell it doesn't have the whole stack of papers, but it's a run out, you might think, of the list. Stephen?
And I know we have a motion, but to also address that, I believe historically one of the main reasons that we haven't is there's also payroll information on there. And so it wouldn't be as simple as make a report. There would have to be personal information redacted. So that's why in the past we've made it physically available that anybody can audit at any time. That's a member of the council, but having it transmitted electronically And then us curating that personal information is why in the past we've just said it's always available for inspection. And it generally is available a couple days before the meeting that I've seen, in the past. Kathy tries to be real good about that. And so I would recommend that if we make a protocol, if we decide that we want to have it transmitted to other council persons, I have no problem with you looking at all the details. It's more the way of transmission needs to be correct so that people's private information details are kept, private.
Yeah, I would be happy if payroll was just one line item number as a total. Because I don't know that is important. I more, because payroll is pretty consistent. I'm more curious about.
Itemize things.
Okay, all right, well, all right, it's a good note, Matthew. We'll work on it. We'll figure out some way for you to be able to get the information. So that with that, we'll end the questions, I guess. Is that okay? And Mickey is here. Mickey, he's still laying in. Any other questions on the motion? You seem to be frozen, Matthew. All right, well, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Matthew's in awe.
Say that again. Matthew is froze up.
Yep, he is.
Okay,
Oh, no.
well, okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, Mickey, can you? You
Yeah,
hear
I
us
can
now?
hear you if you can hear me. Do you hear
Okay,
me?
well, yes, we just voted on the consent agenda. So, all right, well, here,
I
and those
apologize.
opposed, there's none opposed. The consent agenda is accepted. Okay, we're going to go down to officer reports, and that big square that says Mike on it, we'll hear from our city administrator, Rob Olmans first. We lost, but I have to say, I think we lost Matthew. Okay,
Matthew,
go ahead.
yeah, he'll
Rob.
probably be back.
Yeah.
So we'll just continue here. I know we have a short agenda, so I'll get this put right up. As you know, weeks ago, we met with our legislative people, and so just to let everybody know, and maybe Lucy will elaborate on this a little bit, but we have made a capital budget request of $2.5 million to our legislators in Olympia. So we have made that request, and we'll see where that goes. As far as a kind of a building department update, January, and it's always a little slow, although I had 31 inspections. I only sold 4 permits. Next week, our next meeting on the 22nd, I will be coming forward with the new building codes. Several weeks ago, I had it on the agenda, and then moments before the meeting started, the State Building Code Council recommended to postpone it. The governor didn't agree with that, so now it's back on, and for February 1st, which I'm not going to meet that deadline, but I think I'll just start it off at March 1st, kind of make sure everything is going to stay where it's at. So just a little preemptive what's coming next time. Also, what's coming next time, and I will want to get with a committee. I'm going over a little more. I usually go over our employee handbook every year, just little updates. But I'm kind of going over a little more extensively, and we'll have some updates for you next time as well. But I'll meet with a committee. I'm not sure which one yet, but we'll meet with a committee here. So I think that's all I had. If anybody has questions.
Okay, thank you, Rob, for that. You made it back, Matthew.
I did. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say when you froze up, we will work with you about some way to keep you informed on the vouchers, okay?
Thank you.
So now we'll hear from our city planner, Lucy Temple.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. First off, Rob mentioned something about the capital budget request, and we did talk about that at the council meeting immediately following the capital budget request submittal. So I don't feel that I need to expand on that unless anyone has questions. So the permitting updates, we're finalizing a couple of permits, namely the Vertical Bridge and Gravity Coffee permit packages. And also this week, we're going to officially record the AG land exchange with the city. So that's kind of a milestone because that process took quite a long time to figure out and then to enact. That's the West 5th Street property between West 5th Street and the Coal Mines Trail. Also, just to report that we're seeing steady interest in local development, both residential on a lot of vacant lots. We've gotten a lot of repeat calls on vacant residential lots that actually would need to, do things like bring in water, sewer, and roads. But not a magnitude of a large development, just maybe a couple of homes. But also commercial or industrial land development. So I anticipate seeing a steady stream of permits coming in this year. Also, just to report back to you all on the firewising that's been happening with the local or the DNR WCC crew. They firewised, the police station first and then the road leading into the airport. And then they're going to start later this week, Wednesday or Thursday, on that property that was just recently acquired from the AGs. So that's, a lot of traffic going through there, both on 5th Street and on the Coal Mines Trail. And it is extremely overgrown and there's a lot of material. And I think they're mostly going to be working on the slope just below 5th Street. And because there are some limitations in the proximity of 75 feet from Crystal Creek. So in the interior of the property and up to the north. And then Mike and the crew will be helping the DNR with some signs so that people who are walking on the Coal Mines Trail using that trail will know that work's being done, uphill from them. And that's what I have to report right now, unless there's any questions.
Ken has a
Lucy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Ken?
Can you quickly give a summary on the capital budget request?
Sure, I spoke too soon. Sorry about that.
The 2.5 minute.
Yeah. So we have actually submitted a capital budget request this year in the last 2 years. So 2018, 19, 19, 20, and 21 now. And the last 2 years, it did not go like we wanted it to for various reasons. The first time we started off way too high. The second time it was a short session and they didn't even consider it. But they did say, come back next year. And so we did this year. And so we organized a meeting and the aides for our local legislators put together a 30-minute meeting. That's double the time that most anyone else gets with the legislators. And we were able to meet with them all at once. And they were very encouraging after the presentation that actually Ben, who's on the call right now, gave about the project. And the biggest thing was showing the progress that we've made over the last year. Because in the beginning of 2020, when we talked to them, well, actually, I talked to them on my own, we had a bit of a lull on the project. And this past year, I believe over about $2.5 million went into the project in the ground construction, doing phase 2, which included that stormwater and the Billings project. So they were really encouraged. And then at the end of the meeting, I asked them kind of what's the weather in Olympia? How do things look? And they said, it looks really good. And the next morning, Representative Ibarra's aide reached out to us and basically told us that Representative Ibarra would be honored to sponsor our project with that capital budget request to the House. And then subsequent to that, we also heard from Senator Warnock also saying that they were going to do whatever possible within their means to help us do this project. So we have just overwhelming response from our legislators, and we feel like we have a very good chance this year of making a next phase happen. But also to that,
and this is the next phase on First Street, correct?
Yes, of course. So what that would be, and we actually, tend to hedge our bets when it comes to grants. And so we have that capital budget request in, but we're also going to be submitting for a distressed county sales tax grant for the same project, and actually an overlapping so that we might need to make an adjustment if we're lucky enough to get both, which is really good news. So it would, the capital budget request would take us all the way down to the west side of the Pennsylvania and First intersection. So the corners next to Pioneer and the hardware store. The .09 grant, if we're successful for that, is smaller. It would finish the south block between Billings and Oaks in front of the gas stations and do the west section of that intersection. So hopefully we'll have good news for you very, very soon. I'm not sure, Ben might be able to touch later on, or on what the turnaround date, when we would know about the .09, that distressed county sales tax grant, but we should know something on the capital budget request at the end of the session, which I believe is the end of April.
Well, thank you very much. It's just big enough. I think it deserves restating it every meeting we have. So,
well, it's a very big team effort for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Lucy.
Mr. Mayor,
Matthew?
I have a couple of questions, if I could.
Yes.
Lucy, I watched the 2 planning commission meetings from January. I still try to keep up with my friends from there. 2 questions that I had after watching them. First, the first meeting in January, I think it was the 5th, Commissioner Burnt noted that the mayor had dropped off a large binder of like 100 pages of information that I think Greg Dorn had put together about the planning process and how the planning commission operates, and potentially changing to a hearings examiner. And then there was more conversations about rewriting like the zoning chapter and moving some stuff. There was just a lot there. And I was curious, sounds like a big project that we haven't heard anything about. And I'm just curious if you could give us kind of an overview of what's going on there.
Okay. Yeah, there is a planned update to start renovating or addressing the zoning code, which is fairly out of date. But I actually don't know a lot about it. I reviewed it quickly to provide comments on a draft, but that process is being led by Greg Dorn, as I believe was probably mentioned in that meeting at the Planning Commission. And, it didn't really go into detail because I don't have any details to share, or didn't in January. So, yeah, that's being led by Greg.
Okay.
Matthew, I would mention, Matthew, part of it, a big part of that is what we would call a new chapter 14. Part of that is to get the a hearings examiner in place. So how we go about that process, we're working on right now. That's a big part of that. And then the other thing has to do with the work that we need from the Planning Commission, so that we're better armed for other development agreements that we're facing right now.
Okay.
To give you some ideas.
Okay. Second question was, I guess, about when I heard zoning, it brought me back to the Planning Commission. In 2019, we had worked on like a zoning update and the zoning map and all of that. And I guess I didn't realize that it was still going on. What's the status of that?
Yeah, well, that is wrapped up into that. The mayor just mentioned Title 14. That's the strategy that Greg is employing to be able to basically use the kind of migration of Title 17, which is the existing zoning code, over into a new Title 14, so that they can kind of check off what's been addressed and what hasn't. So if you hear Title 14, it's essentially going to be the new zoning title in the code. The process of that we went through in 2019 with the Planning Commission, you'll remember the hearings and stuff that we went through. It was a long process you were involved with. And there was essentially one question on one of the maps. And that's why there was a pause. But Greg took over that effort. And so I don't have an update on that at this time, other than, I'm not the lead on it. So I can't really provide much at this time.
Oh, okay. Okay, so one last question, switching gears. The mayor held up that check from Suncadia, which is so exciting, for $400,000 for the planning of the community center parcel. Do we have any information on the planning process? I know the Parks Committee hasn't brought into it yet. I was just curious if you had anything about that.
Yeah, one more, 3 for 3, one more that Greg's working on. I don't have an update on that. I haven't heard anything. So that would be a question for Greg as well.
So Matthew, are you talking about a parks plan committee? What was it?
We got the $400,000 check, which I had understood that to be for planning of the parcel. That's what I was asking about, because I hadn't heard anything.
Yes, well, we still, for everyone to know, we still haven't got the 12 acres there. It's just, we have it, but we don't have the actual reconfiguration that gives us access off of the Bullfrog Road, but that's on the way. And then we'll start a process to establish a planning. It hasn't happened yet. A community planning effort for what to do with that 12 acres and all the parks that we have right now. Stephen, you have a question?
I just wanted to make a quick comment. There's definitely, we need to have a good process and not rush that, because we want to leverage every single dollar there. And so just, we don't want to prematurely plan a small thing when we can, use it to, like you said, the outreach and getting a hold of community input and everything first, and then partnering with potential organizations that can leverage that, into exponentially more funds especially as the 1.6 comes in and eventually the other one is realized in the future. We just want to always be careful not to, we don't want to set our sights too low with the potential we have there.
No disagreement go ahead. Sorry.
We'll bring you all up to date. There is an outline for a planning process, but we haven't got there yet, and it will be robust and comprehensive, but it has not started yet, but we will have something to report to you real soon about that.
Okay, so I guess my question here is I guess I'm concerned that I learned a bunch of things that seemed pretty profound by watching the Planning Commission that we haven't been given updates here. Do we need to start having Greg give updates? It seems like Lucy doesn't exactly know what's going on in her department, respectfully, and I just feel like we've missed a lot, and I feel like these are things we should have known about, at least that were ongoing.
Well, the administration, me and our consultant, we are changing some of the direction of the Planning Commission, and we'll bring you up to date on that. We're just beginning that, but there are priorities that we as a city really need to have, and that's where some of that change in the Planning Commission is happening right now. You'll be seeing all of that real soon, Matthew.
Okay, it doesn't seem like it's, I guess my question is, it doesn't seem like it's just beginning. If they were talking about the beginning of January, it feels like it's been going on for a while, which is why I was kind of surprised to hear about it there. So that's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll hear from, let's see here, from Mike Engelhardt, our Public Works Director.
Honorable Mayor, Council, just first and foremost, cold weather is on its way, according to weather reports. We do not have our blanket of snow on the ground for insulation, so I highly encourage everyone to open cabinet doors, make sure your heat's up, and let your faucets drip. Try to help prevent your house from freezing, since we don't have insulation out there. I've been working with Greg on some airport stuff that I got the airport committee involved in. Starting point. So we've got some good news coming down the road, hopefully soon with that. Working with HLA on our 10-year water plan. We had a good meeting, and I think we're pretty close to getting a reviewed plan set up for that. Working with HLA as of today again, working on the traffic count record system that the council passed for last meeting. The crew's been out grading the alleys where they can, when they can, in between storms. They've also been working out at the cemetery, doing some burials and such. And you've also probably noticed, if you're up early, they've also been out starting some of the spring cleaning. Most of you probably are aware that sand can be just as hazardous as ice if there's no ice for it to be sticking to. And we've used a bit of sand this year because of the freezing and wet conditions and no snow. So we're out sweeping already, getting some of that cleaned up. Trying to get ready for spring. But that's all I got for this one.
Well, I just lost where is it? Well,
What'd you lose, Jay? We can hear you.
I completely, I have, my screen went to email. I can't see anybody or I'm going, all right.
Okay, hold on. I'll be.
Hang on, you guys. You know,
You need to go on the bottom of the screen and click the Zoom icon.
The whole screen turned to the email somehow. What the, you know, it may have. What the hell did I touch? Oh.
Yeah, you must have tried to click on
yeah, I must have been playing with a mouse and I got in trouble here, you guys. Sorry about that. Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your mic's on.
I'm back. Sorry about that, you guys. All of a sudden I was on email. So, okay, now we'll hear from our fire chief, Ed Mills.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, good evening. I got a short report here. The month of January, we had 23 calls. 3 of those were fire, 19 aid, and 1 citizen complaint. The fire calls, one was a heater malfunction, no spread of fire. Chimney fire contained the chimney flue, and then a vehicle fire that was out on arrival. Right now, I just got back one of our aid cars from repair, and I have sent the other out to get it looked at. I had Reliable Auto take a peek at it, but they couldn't get it lifted up high enough, so we sent it off to Ellensburg. It might be a possible issue with the e-brake system and something with the speedometer. So we got one back in service and sent one out for repairs. And I also have the tender being repaired right now. So now that we're in winter and real no need of the tender, it was a optimum time to have it malfunction or break down. And I've got a guy that has tore into the pump, and we're going to replace the shaft and pump on that. The propeller was sheared off. So that's about all I've got for you at this time, unless you have any questions.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Thank you for that, Ed. You guys are doing a good job. Our police chief is on vacation, so we won't hear from him. And now we'll hear from William LaRue, our Viola plant operator.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. January has been a pretty calm month for both facilities, which we're very thankful for. It's given us the ability or the opportunity to get in at the water plants and get a lot of our filter maintenance done. We've gone through, we pressure washed all the filter walls and troughs. Gone through and checked the filter media for mud balls and have been able to do shock chlorination of our clarifiers to get those cleaned out and get them prepared for our high flow seasons for coming up here this spring and summer. Down at the wastewater plant, we've been making process changes to improve settleability in both of the basins. We dealt with some increased flows from the rains in January. As a trying to save money, cost-saving efforts, we've taken back our total suspended solid analysis testing that used to have been sent out to outside labs. We pulled that back in-house. That required writing up procedures, step-by-step instructions on how to do it. And we have to run that past DOE for their review and approval. We have subsequently gotten provisional approval to do that. So, like I say, we'll be dropping some of our lab costs by bringing that back in-house. And with the cold weather forecast to be coming in, we're already getting ready to bring over the well field if we get the cold temperatures that they're predicting. Other than that, I have my graphs that I provide you on a monthly basis. Nothing real startling there. We're pretty much status quo as to what we were last year. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you folks might have.
Ken, you have a question?
Well, just a comment. I want to thank both Mike and William for being heads up and ahead of the game on cold weather issues. Thank you.
Okay, with that, thank you, William.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, that is it for officer reports. So I should see, I don't know, Rob, do you see anybody else that's on that might want to address the council as far as citizen? I don't know. Are there anybody on the phone that you can see, Rob?
Yeah, I'm not really seeing anybody other than council members, staff members.
Okay. Okay, so then there will be no citizen comments. There's no public appearance. So now we're down to business requiring a public hearing. And I'll have Ben kind of explain what we want to have the public hearing on. And then we'll open the public hearing for comments. And then I imagine there'll be some deliberation. This is I'm not familiar with a public hearing with a contract closeout. So Ben, would you explain that to us, please?
Absolutely. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. This is the closeout public hearing for the CDBG contract that the city has with the Community Development Block Grant Program. And so going back to 2017, the city originally applied for a CDBG grant for this First Street Stormwater Improvements Project, which is considered phase 2. You know, you hear the different phasing for this First Street project, and this is phase 2. And the goal of it was to construct basically everything underground to set up for the streetscape improvements, which is deemed phase 3, the pretty components of the project that everybody notices and sees. And so back in 2017, there was a public hearing to apply for the CDBG funding. Once the funding is in place, the project's designed, the environmental components are done, the project's constructed, and then you get to close out. And so here we are in 2021 at the point of closeout for this CDBG grant, and the second public hearing is required. And so just to recap on some of the successes of the phase 2 project, originally it was just the First Street stormwater components. And as the city continued to pursue other funding opportunities and secure additional grants, it evolved into more than just a stormwater project. It evolved into construction of the westerly bookend, as everybody calls it, the Billings Avenue intersection. And then more time goes by and additional funding was secured, and the north side between Billings and Oaks was also added to the project. And so what was originally slated as just an underground stormwater project evolved into much more. And to go back to Councilmember Harper's point about leveraging funds, that's exactly what the city did to accomplish more than just the stormwater components. And so to talk about some of the measurable successes on that, there was approximately 4,000 feet of storm drain pipe that was installed along the First Street corridor, 55 new catch basins that serve as catchment points to reduce a lot of the ponding and allow snow melt, additional places to go. The question has always been brought up about working the phase 2 and the phase 3 so that they complement one another. There's been several, I guess we'll call them public input at this point about catch basins being located outside the curb lines. And this is something, you know, we've talked about over the years that we're setting up for the future bulb outs. And so the current locations of the catch basins may appear to be out of place, but they are in the future locations of the curb lines. But at the end of the day, they do still serve as a crucial part of the stormwater system, even in today's environment where we are in a transitionary period between old infrastructure and the phase 3 infrastructure that's being planned. To go over some of the numbers, you know, back in May of 2019, this project was originally bid. And if you recall back to that date, there were only 3 bids at the time, and the lowest was 1.58 million. And I remember we met after that bid opening, and we talked about how to potentially move forward, and council determined at that point, let's reject the bids. Let's go out for advertisement again in the winter of 2019 and plan for construction in 2020. And that served to be a successful strategy, with 7 bids being received back in December of 2019, with the low bid being just over 1.4 million. So about $180,000 less than the bid back in May. And on top of it, the north segment there between Billings and Oaks was added to the project. And so that worked out very well. And moving forward to construction in 2020, when the pandemic hit in March, there was a lot of uncertainty about moving forward with construction projects, and this was considered an essential project. And you know, the interruptions and the disruptions to downtown and some of the business owners was always something that was going to be of note. And I think we can say the pandemic brought one fortunate thing, and that was lesser traffic volumes and less to worry about through construction. And so it was a very positive experience from where it could have been anytime you disrupt Main Street in a downtown. The project went really well. The substantial completion was granted back in August. There's still a few labor documentation items out there that the actual acceptance of the project continues to be pushed back every couple of weeks as we check in with the prime contractor on some of their labor documentations, outstanding items there. But in essence, I think we heard a round number of 2.5 million from Lucy, which is pretty close to the funding amount that was actual expenditures. So I've got a summary here. Just over $2.1 million in expenditures, and that was paid through 4 different funding sources on this project, those being STBG, the Kittitas County Distress Grant Program, USDA, and TIB Complete Streets. And so
I know you're drifting around.
Can you hear me still?
That's what happened, right? No.
Yeah, we're having some interference from Rustin's. There you go. Rustin's having problems there, but we can hear you, Ben. Fine.
Okay, super. And so again, yeah, just over $2.1 million, and those were grant programs. And so 4 different funding sources. CDBG, they do require a public hearing for the final project closeout, which this meeting intends to accomplish that requirement. A couple things to note. Lucy mentioned that we had a presentation a couple of weeks back to Representative Ibarra, Representative Dent, and Senator Warnick, and we touched on a couple of the things that have happened these last couple of years since this first phase of the downtown revitalization. In 2019, there were 4 new business applications in the corridor. There were 7 building sales, and there were 2 permits for aesthetic improvements on the facades. And then just this last year, there was 1 infill application, 1 redevelopment application, 13 new businesses, 10 building sales, and 2 additional aesthetic improvement applications. And so you're starting to see the investments on the private side as a result of some of these infrastructure improvements and the streetscape improvements. And it's really starting to snowball, which is a wonderful story to tell the legislators and the funding agencies as the city continues to pursue additional grant opportunities. So I know that was more of a summary of the project in total, but regarding the CDBG closeout, the CDBG funds were $725,000, and it appears at this point there's about $3,300 that'll be back to the CDBG program at the closeout of this project as an unused funding amount. And so a very critical funding partner for the city on this project, and certainly moving forward with phase 3, there could be additional opportunities there.
Okay, so ordinarily with that, we'd open the public hearing and allow anyone who wishes to address the council concerning the closeout of this project. And so I'll do that at this time. I will open the public hearing and we'll wait just a minute. I don't know that there's, Rob, if there's anybody in the public other than
no, there's nobody in the public, and nobody over in the participants or chat. So
it would be in order just to, I'd say it'd be in order just to give them another minute in case they're watching it on another platform and decide to chime in. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yes, 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 yes. We can certainly do that. I appreciate that comment, Stephen. We might be learning how to use a Zoom meeting little by little. Everybody's help, let me tell you. I'll wait just a little bit more. This new style of communicating requires quite a bit of patience. I'm looking at my clock. Okay, Rob, any signs of new communications at all?
No signs of any new communications at all.
Okay, it sounds like we're on a spaceship or something, you guys. But with that, I'll close the public hearing portion. And I'll open it up to the council. Ben, what kind of action do you need after this for the council to decide on something? after we have the public hearing?
Yeah, so Mayor, tonight was just the public hearing for any public input. The official project acceptance recommendation will come at a later date, tentatively set for next council meeting. But again, we're still waiting on just a couple minor outstanding labor documents from a couple of the subcontractors from the prime. And so that was originally slated and was going to follow the public hearing tonight, but they still are waiting on 2 affidavits from their subs.
Okay, so this is part of the process of accepting a Department of Commerce or the CBG
So
grant.
point of clarity,
Go ahead,
you did
Steve.
open, point of clarity is that you did open the public meeting or the public meeting.
Yes.
So you
hearing,
should formally
yes.
close it. That way.
I thought I did. I thought I said I meant to say I'm closing the public hearing before I address Ben. I'm, you know, if I am not very good at enunciating tonight, I could accept that. But the public hearing for this is closed. So then that's what I was saying. I was asking Ben. So it seems like that's all we have to do as far as is concerned tonight. It'll be a continuing process for our next meeting. Well, I thank you for that, Ben. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that, well, let me ask you, Ben, isn't the 0.09 application going in next week, or it has to be?
That's correct. It'll be submitted next week. In fact, I saw some correspondence. Lucy had some good review comments today. And so that'll be finalized. It just next week is when it's due. And then in 2 months, there should be a decision on awarding that next. If the next phase is awarded, that's when it should come out is in April.
Yes, and that money we will be able to use this year. So
correct.
And it is a COG process. I'm kind of involved with that, so I'll let you know whatever I hear. Okay, thank you, Ben. You're free to go.
Okay.
Appreciate your time. So now there's no unfinished business, no new business, and we are down to committee reports. Beth, you want to give us an update on your legislative procedure committee?
Sure. I think Matthew mentioned it last time. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. That we are going to be following the Newcastle City Council's operating policies and procedures handbook.
Mm-hmm.
And we're basically altering their handbook to fit our city council and our city and putting in pertinent information. At this last meeting, we went over chapter 1 and 2. 1 is the introduction. What's the purpose of the manual, applicability, adherence, protocol, and periodic review of the policy manual. And Gary Burnt is going to be inputting the correct information for our city for that. And then we went over chapter 2, which is powers and responsibilities of council and manager. They have a weak mayor form of government, so we need to alter all of this to a strong mayor form of government. And Matthew has volunteered to take on chapter 2, and that's where we got at our second meeting. The next chapter 3 is other officials and adjudicators, which includes some of our employees. So we're going to be pulling in information from the employee manual, employee handbook, and also the mayor and council members handbook from MRSC to get correct and pertinent information in there for us. So that's where we're at. Probably the next meeting we will cover chapter 3 and 4, I'm guessing, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Beth? No, mom's the word, Beth. So thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, Matthew, for that. Stephen, you have a question?
Just, well, not a question, but if I could indulge everybody with the report from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and the update. I literally just about 20 minutes ago got word from Amy. She has been working on getting our contract. One thing that has taken a little bit of time is a sticking point that we were pretty clear on, and they are respecting, is the part about the intellectual property. And so she just got that back from her lawyers. And that did take a little time. And and what's actually nice is they're spending a little extra time on their dime getting the words polished out on how we want that addressed. And so I do not have anything to bring to the council at this meeting, but we do expect to have a proposed contract at the next meeting that we can propose to the council and be ready to implement immediately.
Okay, thank you for that. We're at number 12. Anybody have any ideas about that portion of the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Very good.
Oh, man. John, you're such a spoil sport.
Hey, somebody's got to
All
do
right.
it, right?
Is there a second? Meeting's adjourned. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Aye, adjourn.
Thanks, guys. See you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.